They push and they push and they push sales on you. We can't save the money that he already spent on something that wasn't right. And you're talking about north of 25,000 dirhams.
You might qualify for 0% corporation tax as a small business, but you still have to do your registration.
We are a long-term holistic financial planning business. So the questions we ask our clients are, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What income do you need for retirement? Where are you going to retire?
Free zone, UAE, I got you. We're joined by Jonny. Jonny's going to tell us a little bit about himself, what he does, where he's from, and a very interesting story about how himself and Jack's met. And you wouldn't guess what kind of profession he has. Do you want to give us a few words about yourself and your background?
My name's Jonny Harris. I am a financial planner here in Dubai, originally from Northern Ireland. I had the pleasure of having 8 years in education before going into financial planning. I was kind of the black sheep that didn't go into the financial services industry from my family. My mum was an educator and it really inspired me. And I pursued a career in education. It was the typical 2 years in Dubai. I'll go out, I'll teach, I'll work in education, I'll travel, and then eventually I met Jack. We met in school. We had a great few years together. Jack always inspired me. A very similar approach to business, life, and education. And we had a great time together.
Yeah, we did. And I think that's working relationship. We always pushed each other and egged each other on to do better, educate ourselves. Deliver a better service, to put it bluntly, a service to the parents, a service to the students. And I think that's exactly what we're doing right now.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that we have in common is that we've got the skill set to help people unlock their potential. And that was the thing when I was working with Jack, was always that from day to day, we were always doing things. How can we help children, achieve their potential? What does that even mean? How can they be the best versions of themselves? Every child was individual, we had great relationships, great banter with all the children. Yeah. And so for me, it was where I resonated most with Jack was his ability to meet people, form relationships, and then help them unlock their potential. And that's what I love, and that's why we've stayed in touch and we work so closely together now today.
Yeah, and I think that word relationships, that's exactly what is needed in your industry, in our industry, in the corporate services, in the financial advice sector. It's all built on network and it's all built on relationships.
Yeah.
And if you can do that well, you can see that you're already having success in such a short period of time because you build long-lasting relationships with your clients, and all of those skills are transferable.
And obviously there's a lot of wealth advisors that exist here in this market in the UAE.
Yeah.
What makes St. James's Place really different in your perspective?
At St. James's Place, we are a long-term holistic financial planning business. We like to use there's a lot of value adds that we do for our clients. We do a lot of work around cash flow modeling. We do a lot of work around long-term planning, and we create plans which are flexible. We understand that Dubai is not forever for everyone. We understand that clients need flexible plans which are going to change. And we really focus on the long-term service provision for our clients in terms of seeing clients regularly. We do regular reviews of our clients. We're not a one-stop shop, invest, see you later, we're not going to speak to you. We pride ourselves in having long-term, in-depth, warm relationships with our clients, leaning on the cash flow modeling, leaning on the tax-led advice to make sure that when their plans change, our plans change too for them. So I think that's the biggest difference. In Dubai, there's a lot of financial planners or advisors will speak to a client once, you might not see them again for a very long time. So I think that's the real core difference for us at SJP.
And we touched upon it off camera, and there's a lot of people placing different products that might not be savvy placement, and people want to get a commission, and so they push and they push and they push sales on you. What does St. James's Place do differently from that perspective? Because everybody needs to make money, we understand that, but the culture here in financial advisory space is really plug the product that pays you more.
We take a long-term outlook for our clients. It makes commercially viable if we have clients for a long period of time. So we've got to make sure that if a client's ready for an investment now, then brilliant. If it's ready we've got to make sure that investment is also very suitable for their needs. So again, for us, it's not about the product, it's not about the investment tool, it's about the plan, and it's about making sure the plan aligns with their goals. So the questions we ask our clients are, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What income do you need for retirement? Where are you going to retire? So these questions help us then look at what the best plan is for them, and then we don't have to necessarily shoehorn them into something which is not fit for purpose. So for us, it's about having that in-depth relationship, and then we can fit the plan to them rather than the plan fitting for the client itself.
Would you say you do a lot of education with clients in terms of less financial education?
Yeah, every client's different. Some clients, want to understand the details. Some clients just want to have complete management from the advisor's point of view. For us, it's about, well, for me individually as well, as an ex-educator, I want to improve our clients' relationship with money. So it's really important for us to break down all of those facets of advice, understand actually where the money's going, understand how it's working for them, the hardest it can work for them, and it's really important for them to understand the tax benefits, especially being here in Dubai and in the UAE. There's a lot of value add there, there's a lot of education. I'm more than happy to sit down with anyone in Dubai and give them educational advice, help them with their financial well-being, their financial health, how does it actually look like for them. And I can tell it's the same for you guys. You obviously have a service, you've got a provision to help businesses run their business, maintain their business over time. But at the same time, a big part of what you guys do is getting real people onto real conversations, giving them, real educational advice. And then that's how you basically, it's the foundation of your business. So again, that's what I love about that.
We do a lot of free discovery calls, a lot of roadmaps for people that never come back, but at least they have the right advice. And we know that we've done good by them, because there's a lot of guys here, just like in your industry, or placing any product that I can, which is the one that pays me the most. You can place here people in different free zones, the ones that pay the most, you as a commission, as a corporate service provider. We are agnostic. We don't really care which free zone. We don't look at that commission part, or if the free zone is going to pay us, not going to pay us. We have a relationship with them. We don't, because some clients, if you put them in a very cheap free zone that's going to pay you a lot, they're not going to get a bank account after that, or they might not get a visa. And if you don't provide as you say, holistic approach to it, but we have a framework called the BATCA framework, banking, accounting, tax, company analysis. If we don't look at it from that perspective, all the perspectives, we don't provide advice. And if we don't have enough information from the client, from his personal tax residency, his business, where is his center of interest, we delve a little bit deeper than the typical guy here who goes, free zone, UAE, I got you.
This is exactly it. And I think, I've had the pleasure of launching and opening a business with my wife here, an education business. And even now, the advice that we went out to a kind of a widespread freelance business for our company set up, and I went there with the mindset of, right, okay, these guys are going to be good because they're not linked directly to free zones. They're going to help me, and they're going to give me whole of market advice. That's going to be really organic. And 2 years or a year later, our business is now pivoting, we're growing, and we're quickly realizing that maybe our business license is not fit for purpose. So again, from a financial planning perspective, I know that when I work with my clients and our clients at St. James's Place, we're there to help clients with all the turn left, turn right moments in life.
Yeah.
Life changes, unexpected circumstances, more income, less income. So if we want to be there for the turn right and turn left moments, how can we be there and really support them if we don't really know the client and know what they need and what they're going to want long term? So it comes back to what you guys do. There's a massive emphasis on forming relationships. I know if I sat down with you guys a year ago that you would probably know about my aspirations to grow the business. I know that you would have known about maybe the scalability of my business. I know, actually, hold on, Jonny, I actually think you needed to pause, reflect, consider X, Y, Z, and hold me accountable. So I think there's a massive synergy there in terms of how you guys are doing that, and you're helping the long-term health of the business here by setting up appropriately. And how many businesses are here in the UAE not set up properly from the get-go?
A lot of clients actually that are already set up, and they come to us because something went wrong, something isn't right. We had a guy with a broadcast company that couldn't open a visa, couldn't open a bank account for a year. After a year, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen for you. So he's going to have to shut down and open something which is actually going to work for him. And we're going to support him all the way, as much as we can, of course. But we can't save the money that he already spent on something that wasn't right. And you're talking about north of 25,000 dirhams.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake. And there's no business that came through that. And just the right advice at the beginning, just a free discovery call, free roadmap, could have at least got him.
Yeah.
Man, don't do that. Why? Well, immigration is never going to get you in. Oh, nobody told me about it. Mm-hmm. And we hear it quite often now. Like, it's just like all these discovery calls, they're coming, and it's just like everybody has a myth. Free zones, I don't pay any tax. I'm sorry, It's been 2 years now that we have 9% corporate tax on everything. Sure, there are some activities that qualify, but so many people still get it wrong. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And it goes back, I think it goes back to your point that you said earlier, Jonny, was you're about the long-term planning, right? We're exactly the same. You'll get a lot of providers that will incorporate the business. Adios, goodbye. We do quarterly meet up with our clients.
Yeah.
We do monthly reporting. We do quarterly reporting. We check in on WhatsApp almost every day if they need it. So we're in it for the long term because we're expecting them to have a successful business. And on the other end of the spectrum, at the start, we've had a few cases recently where people have come to us and we've told them, It's the wrong idea. You're not prepared. You haven't got a team behind you. Your financials aren't right. We're not going to incorporate your business. You need to go away and you need to come back to us maybe in a year or 2 years, or you need to change your business plan. So we do it with honesty and transparency, and that's again where I see the crossovers. And I had that experience from the other side as well when I incorporated the paddle network, however long ago it was, and not with the experience that I had now and the expertise. I went in as a client, they just incorporated the business, push, pay the invoice, disappeared, never heard from them again. They didn't ask me the questions, what does your business plan look like? What are your future aspirations? All the questions that we asked, I don't think they asked a single one of those questions. What's your turnover going to be? Did they advise me on the corporate tax and the VAT? Absolutely not. So yeah, it's interesting now. I've got the perspective from both sides, and to see it from a client side, and now also from a service provider side, that the difference that there is. So yeah, there's a lot to be said.
It's massive, but it's also about education. And as you rightly said, we have a lot of startups that come to us, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to get incorporated. My first question: do you have a client? Do you have revenue?
Yeah.
No. Do you have shareholder investors that you have signed up? No. So why are you incorporating? What for? But somebody told me I need a company. No, you don't need a company.
Yeah.
You need investors signed, ready to pull the trigger and to give you $1 million or however much you want. Then maybe you need a company, but at the beginning all you need is safe. It's just an agreement with somebody saying, I will put money down and it's signed and I'm committing. And if I don't pay, I owe you 5% of that money. Something like that. If you don't get those, don't incorporate. People jump the gun a lot. Like they want to get this legal setup done. They want to get the structure done first without having a client, a business plan, revenue, or investors.
Yeah.
What for? What are you doing it for? Chill. Go get your money in.
Blessing in disguise in Dubai. Dubai's got so much opportunity. Moving to Dubai has been the best thing that I've ever done personally, professionally, family perspective, lifestyle, everything. And I think people are rewarded here who work hard. And you have to be prepared to go through, I think, a period of a little bit of suffering, and if you really want to achieve what you want to achieve. But at the same time, you do see a lot of content from different people. They come within 4 months, they've got a business. On the outside, it looks like things are very rosy, but then you think, okay, if you fast forward 2 or 3 years' time, is that individual still in their business? Are they set up correctly? So I think, yes, there's lots of opportunity here, but you have to make sure you're ready for that opportunity. You have to make sure you've got the actual capacity to grab it with 2 hands, and then when you do have it, it's set up in the appropriate way. I see so many different people who come with great ideas, great aspirations, and they just want to go forward very, very quickly. But as you say, Peter, they haven't got the actual business plan in place, the revenue, the clients, the long-term plan.
Yeah, grow too quickly.
I know you do a lot of LinkedIn, you do a lot of socials, and obviously you're out there and you're educating people. Is there anything that we could talk about today that could educate a little bit of your audience?
Yeah, for sure. I think we've got so many. SJP have got over 1 million clients. A lot of our clients are based in the UK.
A lot of clients.
Yeah, a lot of clients, and a lot of those clients, have aspirations to come to the UAE and come to Dubai. And then we've got a lot of local expat clients here who, again, are 2-3 years into the Dubai experience. They're thinking now about businesses and setup. So I think my question for you guys would be, what are the common mistakes that expats either here in the country or outside the country make when going for that company setup and that process?
For me, it's, you could probably get 10.
I can give a few.
Probably about 100. But the common mistakes that we see is the people who are in the UK, are resident in the UK, buy property here and don't declare. No bueno, not a good idea, not without the structure, not without either a holding or foundation or an SPV in place. It's just not a very good idea. You'll get hit on the head by HMRC at some point. People thinking they can avoid discovery or something like that. It doesn't exist. You will get flagged at some point in time. You'll need to repatriate the money at some point in time. And if you had done things correctly or set them up correctly at the beginning, you could have been scot-free, stress-free, and still pay very, very little tax on income. So that's sort of like the biggest one that we face, and we have to disclose to people, I'm sorry, you can't do this. You can, but this is the risk. I don't think it's worth it.
At SJP, one of the advisors, Giles, I work with, great financial advisor, and he always coins a phrase, it's important to start with the end in mind. And I think that's a very interesting point. Dubai is not forever for anyone. Well, maybe we'll wait and see, but we know that it's very likely that Dubai is going to have an exit point for a lot of individuals here.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have a business here, that's a very nice point to make in terms of, do you actually understand what the exit point might look like? How does that impact your company setup? So I think that's a really, really valid and important point.
I think my 2 areas that trip people up is just the VAT, value-added tax, and then the CT, which is the corporate tax, because a lot of people move to Dubai and they think, they just think zero tax, right? But there is tax.
Yeah.
You might qualify for 0% corporation tax as a small business, but you still have to do your corporate tax registration. You have to get a certificate. The mistakes on invoices going out locally, people just sending invoices and not adding 5% VAT, and knowing the difference between, your global clients and your local clients. So yeah, it's just the whole tax piece. Everyone who's probably from the outside looking into the UAE just thinks, oh, brilliant, let's go. No tax, right? We know there's no income tax, but there are other taxes, and you do need to make sure that as a company that you register those. Otherwise, there's going to be fines and you're going to end up losing money.
Well, that's the problem, right? There's so much white noise around the tax piece. There's so much white noise around the tax benefits, but really the information is not really readily accessible. And you need to really speak to real people with real information to try and back that up.
I think there's a lot of information. I think that's the bad point, is that there is so much information online, and so much of it is old information. And when I get clients, but I ChatGPT'd it. Good for you. However, ChatGPT references the blogs that rank higher. The blogs that rank higher are ones that are quite old. And they have erroneous information, which says anything coming in from a free zone or invoices from a free zone, sent from a free zone, 0% tax. Just not true. It's just factually not true, not correct. And so a lot of people who use AI right now, and I have this impression the more and more, the AI is a great tool, don't get me wrong, I love it. I use it all the time, but we feed it the right data. And we've got the tax laws in there, and it's referencing, and we constantly ask it in a certain way to reference us certain pieces in tax and citations so that we know what we are referencing to, so that we can actually read it. It doesn't provide the advice, it just finds the things that we need to fast, and then we provide the advice based on what it has found compared to the case that we have. So it's really about using that tool. I think gentlemen from the UK that are coming in right now, some of them do great. Don't get me wrong, we're talking about mistakes. Some of them are very savvy or very well educated and know that there has to be tax planning here. Specifically, I think the people who are used to having trusts and already have sort of like legacy vehicles, these are the ones that are interested in the foundations. What's foundation? Oh, this is an interesting thing. And they're right to be interested, because it's a new way of handling your legacy down to your children, specifically for those who have international assets and assets outside of the UK. You can have also with the foundation assets inside the UK, but it's a little bit more complex. But the foundation and all these different legacy vehicles are things that nobody really knows about, because people don't really talk about it online. They talk about free zones, cheap setups, free visa, free banking, free compliance. But the legacy vehicles that could save you money and tax forever, nobody talks about it.
Everyone hears this word tax. No one really understands kind of what does it mean. But there is tax opportunities here. There's long-term planning opportunities here for clients. Just recently, to reference kind of the AI and the blog piece, the information changes, the rules change, your circumstance change. The amount of years you've been resident here change. I sometimes ask clients, especially in the UK, do you understand what your residency tax position is right now?
SRT.
Yeah, do you actually understand what your tax status is right now? What does that mean for your assets? What does that mean for your long-term planning? Most recently we look at new pension regimes. Pensions are going to be clawed back in for inheritance tax long-term from April 2027. So there's a massive change there. You talk about legacy. A lot of UK expats would have looked at their pensions as a really kind of efficient way for legacy planning in terms of falling outside their estate. Now it's been brought back in. So yes, these rules change and they're going to keep changing. That's the nature of the government, and that's the nature of tax. It's led by the government, and it's about getting to a stage where you have got an ongoing understanding. What is my tax benefit here? So I've got 10 pieces. I talk about an analogy, the money house, and there's 10 elements to the money house for financial well-being. And one of those is about understanding your tax jurisdiction. Again, people hear these words, they switch off because they don't have a good understanding. It's not too complicated. It's about, there's tax rules and regulations here, there's tax rules and regulations back in the UK, there's tax rules and regulations everywhere in the world. You got to understand, what do they mean for me? How do I fall into those rules? And it's the exact same when it comes to your business. You change jurisdiction, you change tax area, there's going to be new tax rules. And it's about making sure you've got the long-term understanding for that.
That's where some founders or business owners get muddled, is when they're staying in the UK, setting up a business in the UAE, getting a visa and a bank account in the UAE, and then it's the question about dividends back to the UK, or how many days am I spending back in the UK? Do I declare that to HMRC? Some of them think, right, I'm setting up a business in the UAE, everything's around the UAE, but there's a crossover between the two, and you need to make that clear, especially as well if it's B2B, business to business, because the arm's length principle and making sure the calculations are right, if they're invoicing backwards and forwards, or there's a company loan that's going. So it is quite complicated, and what they lean on us for is the advice in their home country. And we have to be transparent and say, look, we can help on the UAE, but you need to go and get your own tax advice.
Yeah, it's important. Like there are no tax advisors that will do all jurisdiction across. It just doesn't exist. You cannot know all the tax laws of every country and then be like, yes, I know international tax law. That's just not the case. We have a lot of current cases from the UK, from France, from Italy, from Europe in general. There's a lot of clients. So obviously we're quite aware of things that people need to pay attention to. So we know what the gaps are. We know what the risks are. We're going to point them out. But you should always have a local tax advisor in your home country giving you the advice, with somebody like us going, this is what you need to ask him. Here, here. These are your gaps. This is what you're going to do here, which is going to create this, this, and this. Go figure it out with him. We believe these are the 3 solutions you should look at. Go confirm it with somebody there who is a tax advisor locally in his jurisdiction and been doing it for 20 years.
But we still get some cases. There was an Aussie one recently where there's been a piece on the IP. We think maybe you want to go back and check that again.
Yeah, obviously there is advice and advice, and then some people do great advice, some people do advice because they need to bill hours. If we don't do the billing hourly, we just have one pack, it's for the year, and you can solicit us whenever you want on WhatsApp, so it's a 5-minute thing. I love giving out advice, specifically when I know what I'm talking about. I feel like really happy and, I'm an educator. I'm here, I'm providing good stuff, and, I'm going to save you a little bit. When I see somebody do something just to make money, I'm like always, man, what a piece of shit. Why? Yeah. Why do all that when all you need to do was go left? You're making go through a maze, pay hourly fees like this. We see, I don't want to say we see it often, but it is quite common. It is quite common. You'll have 1 out of 10 clients that has to follow some sort of like crazy methodology of a guy who's thought up on his own just to bill him. And you're like, mate, all you need to do is here, you do this, and that's it, you're over. And it's a 5-minute conversation for us. He's like, no, it's not possible. What do you mean it's not possible? No, but my accountant has said it's been 7 hours we're on him with his. I'm like, it's not 7 hours, it's a 5-minute conversation. It's just this, you just need to do this.
But that's it, right? And again, our client process, clients, can come to me. We do a financial well-being assessment straight away. We look at cash flow modeling, get their current picture of what their real financial well-being and long-term financial plans look like. We find out the long-term goals. They come in and we can give them advice, give them resources. So before, and we don't get paid for that time, nor should we. We get paid for maintaining long-term relations over time. There is an expectation in Dubai, I think, where I am very heavily involved in a rugby club here in Dubai. I've scaled a rugby club, Junior Dragons, and we're a proud non-for-profit. And I tell the parents all the time about we're not-for-profit, we work out our costs, so I'm a volunteer. And of course there's other benefits for me being there and being involved in a big network of families, but at the same time, it's not-for-profit. And the reaction from parents all the time is, oh, so like we don't have to pay for this piece or that piece, or Dubai is a culture where you feel like you have to pay for everything. So I think it's interesting to kind of reflect and think about, well, Dubai is a place where there's not a lot of things for free, but when you do get free value adds, they need to make sure they're appreciated, I think.
Yeah, we do. And we had a case recently where there was probably 2 or 3 30-minute calls. There was a WhatsApp group set up. There was a backwards and forwards, and it was all for us to say to him, don't do it. We think about the customer or the client first.
Well, this is it. Again, for me, being part of St. James's Place, we've got a massive machine behind us in terms of our investment management approach. We've got fund managers, we've got an investment management committee. We've got a lot of people behind us managing all these cogs. So I know that when I go to bed at night, I can sleep at night because I know there's a massive process. Yeah. It's process driven. I know you guys have got the same process as well in-house. There's regulation there. There's other members who are helping you out with your provision. One thing I think I've really admired about you guys, and one thing that I'm always trying to learn more from you guys as individuals as well, is how you guys have used AI in your business. Posted a blog post recently how I want AI to take my job. I went to a really, really good keynote presentation with the Business Network, and one of the guest speakers said, AI will not take your job, those who use AI will.
For sure.
And as a financial planner up and coming in Dubai, I want AI to take my job. What do I mean by that? I love having real conversations with real people. The nature of being part of a very highly regulated business is that, we've got a lot of administration, a lot of back-end tasks, a lot of preparation. We want to give ongoing service, emails, all those heavy lifting tasks. So I want AI to take all that off me, so I can then do what I do best and sit in front of real people.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that you guys are in a position where you've really embraced AI in your business. So my question would be, how are you guys using AI in your business?
The first thing for me is the speed that we can move at with AI. So we will, a very simple task that might take slightly longer, we can use AI to do that task at speed and make it really efficient. The whole of the business is plugged in as one ecosystem where our AI is plugged into the Google Drive, so then it can find data quickly, so we don't have to go looking through it. We have all our transcripts from Gemini because everything's done through Google Drive. So if we ever need to go back and revisit the conversation, we do follow-ups, next steps. If there's any questions for us around that subject for something that you might not remember, for example, because we're doing sort of 6, 7, 8 calls a day sometimes. So being able to revisit those notes just quickly, efficiently, ask some questions, gather the data, make an informed decision.
I've quite, delved deep into it. I asked AI where I should be focusing in my business, and he said, do an AI like software to help people with tax, and that will get you, let's say, a little bit into the AI era because you're still in the 2000s era. So obviously I want to be upfront and I want to be in the, look forward to the future. And one of the things that we did was we created a AI tax advisor for people moving from the UK to the UAE to give them an understanding of what are the different things that they would need to do to be able to move here, what they need to be careful about. It's sort of like you having an advice with me in general. Like instead of getting on a call, if you don't want a call, you go into the AI advisor. It's got all the local tax law here. It's got all my transcripts that I've done over the years, and it's learned from them. And it's now just actually like reading and asking you the same questions that I would, which are the important questions that you need to understand. Because once again, AI is great, but if you don't know what questions to ask, you're not going to get the right output from it. And it's about prompt engineering. But instead of me going and spending half an hour with you, you can do it on your own if you don't want to see my beautiful, charming face. I don't know why you wouldn't. We'd look nice.
Well, maybe I want to see yours. I'm not too sure about Jack's.
Yeah, people say the other way around. I'm the angry Russian, and he's the.
No, I'm in your corner. Don't worry.
He's the charming Brit.
Yeah.
Charming Brit. Yeah, that's why we hide him. The face. But yeah, the point is, I use that now also internally as a tool to go in and have a case. I need to break it down quickly. I feed all of that to my own AI that I built on my own, which has different LLMs plugged into it for different tasks and searching and search and then logic and prompts, and the way that we have built the prompts to engineer the right output. And it allows me to save probably about, I would want to say, an hour and a half per client of going and searching and preparing. We're now also going to the next level where I'm doing proposals for AI, where I will feed the output of that into a specific program that gives me a deck in 45 seconds.
Gamma.
And you feel then that allows you more time to do what you do best, and that is spend time with people.
And be proactive. Because as we're starting now to hit sort of a volume problem, which is a great problem for a business owner. I'm really happy I have this problem, because the problem 5 years ago was there was no volume.
The opposite.
So now we have volume, and the thing is, we're growing, and this is called the growing pains, where we're plugging in resources. We're seeing that we need more resources, and we want to keep the same level of the quality, the level of service that we provide, and the proactiveness. What we don't like to be is reactive to a problem that the client might have had. We want to be in control and say, Mr. Client, this is where you're going. No bueno. Don't go there. We need to stop this. We need to be careful. You're going to reach the threshold. You are aware, right? Because I've told you this 7 times over the last 6 months that there's a threshold of 3 million dirhams. I see here you're at 2.89. What are we doing in the next invoice? Oh, great, Peter. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I don't really specifically need to do this invoice right now. We could wait, and it's like the 24th of December. And I could wait 7 days. And that difference is 9% corporate tax on profit. And when you have more volume, you're not able to be proactive anymore. If you don't grow your team or you don't find the right people at the right time, and obviously you're plugging holes and so on. But with AI, giving us much less time on doing I don't want to say it's the annoying work. I like doing proposals. I like putting a case together, but it just breaks it down so much easily.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier to put it all together.
We have a lot of clients and we deal with a lot of clients. We deal with businesses that have multiple clients, 3, 4, 5 people sometimes in this group chat. One task that we've started doing is going into the chat history. So you go into the WhatsApp, you export the chat either with the media or without. So if there's a ton of documents, sometimes you'll do it with the media. You zip that file, you airdrop it to your laptop, you pop it into ChatGPT, and it will give you full history, summary, next steps, key points. So if I'm handing a client over to another member of staff within the team, it gives me the full history of that client in a really nice, simple, clean format. It will tell me the next steps. It will tell me what documents have been uploaded. It will tell me whether their corporate tax has been done. And I'll say, this is a 10-second exercise, bang, straight over. That member of staff has now got full detail, action points, everything.
Well, we do a lot of project management, right? So there's a lot of things that are on our internal tools, a lot of things that we plug through. We have our own sort of AIs also with our own databases. We have a lot of different things happening at the same time. And we need to efficiently pass over the information to each other in the most efficient manner. Now, I'm not the best at that, I'll be honest with you. I'm more of, vision guy, chaos, here we go, here's a new project, let me build an AI tool. You know what I mean? But the tools that we have now really do help on segmenting information, on creating better tasks, on being a better project manager, but not just for internally, for clients. Most of our clients need to be project managed, and they're just like, you got this, Peter. Now, of course we do, but you still need to run your business. And there are still things that I can't do for you, Mr. Client. This is the list, please just tick off.
Again, and that's a very interesting point, because I've touched this previously in this conversation, but I use an analogy called the money house, and that's really how you can dive into your financial well-being. So what I try to do is I look at breaking things down. So first piece is looking at your foundations, things like emergency funds. Do you have spending control, budget control? Do you understand what your surplus income is or what your net income is? Actually having the foundations of your financial plan. Then I talk about the walls of your dream house. So always think about, you're going to build this dream house and you're going to have these elements, walls, investing habits and whatnot. And we go on to talk about the roof, protection and the interior and your goals, aspirations. So I think AI has helped me develop a lot of resources for that in terms of budgeting resources, understanding emergency funds, guides, which are all resources I'm going to be circulating, in the future. And I think, again, very similar to you guys, it is helping me create resources, back-end stuff I can send to clients. Another thing I found with you guys, which is brilliant, you've got a team behind you. There's a provision of services. We mentioned earlier about, it doesn't matter what tax jurisdiction you're in, you always got to get tax-led advice by tax advisor in that jurisdiction. But, at SJP, we've got a range of advisors. We've got, advisors who specialize in Australian expats, British expats. We've got a small tax and technical team that help us with low-key advice. We've got a range and a suite of guys in our team to really help the long-term planning for our clients. So can you guys touch on what does your wider team look like from maybe a legal perspective? And what does the wider kind of GCG team really look like?
First of all, GCG is a group, so we've got a real estate arm, a media arm, and a structuring arm. We have people that are lawyers. We have 2 lawyers in house that work on corporate law, international law. We've got a tax lawyer. We have accountants, so they are chartered professional accountants. We've got 3 of them. We have people who do just immigration bit, just the free zone bit, and the visas here locally in the UAE. So people are able to advise on probably about 30 of the 50 free zones that are here in the UAE and having relationships with them. Of course, you have a head of ops trying to stem the chaos that I'm sending, or we are sending Jax's way. We're sitting over there, and he's working while we're talking.
Sorry, okay.
This is the usual stuff. We've got account managers that are dealing with about 30 clients each. So one account manager for 30 clients, knowing exactly what's happening in and out, trying to make sure that accounting, tax, legal, corporate, so company, visa, banking compliance officer, all of that is sorted for each client. So that's 30 clients. It's like we're the mini back office of every client. So, and it's constant work. Well, we do a lot of people, but you just set up companies. Well, I'm paying you this. Mate, yes, no, I can do setup for free. And we do the setup for free. It's not what we take money for.
That's what holistic means.
Yes.
You said earlier, Peter, a lot of people talk about this word holistic. And what does it actually mean? From our perspective, it's James's Place. Holistic means long-term planning, day-to-day management, year-to-year management, inheritance planning, legacy planning, investment planning. Everyone uses that word holistic all the time. Knowing what's right. You mentioned earlier, Jack, about, in terms of knowing when maybe a company setup is right for a client or not. And it came to the same for us. We go back to the same philosophy all the time. What does long-term holistic planning mean? Understanding your clients, understanding where they want to get to, start with the end in mind and work back. And then that relationship will go. The turn right, the turn left moments in life, that's when you need support. That's when you show the value of your advice. I am very confident that you guys can show the value of your advice and your ongoing service for those moments. When a business is going to scale, when's it going to change, when do you need to employ more people, when do you need to grow, when are you going to change? I think that's really, really important to understand that it's a long-term outlook.
The thing is also the corporate services piece here in the UAE is quite complicated. You take a company and you think that's it, I got a company, I can put as many visas as I want on there. No. You take a flexi lease, you'll get 3 visas. You want to get 6 visas or 7 visas, you got to get a physical office. It's 3 times the price of the flexi lease. If you don't plan ahead or you don't tell us what exactly you're going to do or you don't do it in the correct way, you're going into a world of hurt because your budget is this and then suddenly I got to pay this, but it's not in the budget. I didn't think this. My marketing piece has just gone away on legal and admin.
Yeah.
Right advice from the start is a massive difference when you're doing it. And some free zones, just not for you. It's just not for you. It doesn't matter how cost efficient that free zone is. It is just not for you because your activity, your business, for example, if you have a qualifying activity and you're not in a designated zone, you're missing out on 0% corporate tax. You save 6,000 dirhams to pay 0% corporate tax. Once again, it's not transparent. It's not algorithmical. It's not that simple because tax laws change every month here. We get ministerial updates from the FTA, does ministerial updates every quarter nearly. Every quarter, a tax law changes or gets updated. That's crazy. Well, what does that happen?
And this is exactly, from my perspective, where you justify the value of ongoing advice.
Yeah, of course.
I'm very proud of the ongoing service and ongoing advice that we can give our clients for this exact reason. And, it's not a one-stop shop. There's not one investment plan which fits someone forever. There's not one company setup or one company provision which is going to be a one-size-fits-all forever. So, the value of advice in Dubai is very important. Things change, life changes, and you got to make sure you've got a team around you to support those changes. Speaking of change as well, Jax, similar to myself, you've had a career in education, you've stepped into, a new industry, a new world. I'm very interested to kind of hear how you've managed that transition, what things have you taken away? I know for me, it's been an unbelievable experience. It's been a long process, over 2 years of retraining, using my skill set, going down to a new passion project area. So I think, what have been your real key takeaways, Jack? From the last time, we were working together day to day, we were both wearing shorts and t-shirt and in the PE department. So what's changed?
A lot's changed.
Lots of coffee.
Lots of coffee. I think not being the smartest person in the room anymore, which, you read about all entrepreneurs and books.
So what, you thought you were smarter than me in the PE department? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I was teaching students who are under 11 years old. So I considered myself, actually, there was probably some in there that were smarter than me.
Smarter than us both.
I mean, look, I can now choose to put myself in a room with people that I want to be in the room with, people that motivate me, natural leaders, other entrepreneurs. And I think what I've done is I've selected my business network over a few years. It's taken a bit of time, but I've now got the right people around me that I can choose to learn from. Education was brilliant, don't get me wrong. There were parts I absolutely loved. But I do feel that, and I'm sure all teachers will agree with me, that you're restricted. You're restricted to one building, you're restricted from a financial perspective, and you're restricted from your hours that are available to you or not available to you, depending on which way you look at it. So key takeaways, look, I've got more flexibility, I've got more ownership, and I can surround myself with the people that I want to learn from. And yeah, I've had some unbelievable people who I've connected with, who I've just learned so much from.
Yeah, and I think, the nature of the beast is that you come to Dubai to work in education, you don't work for a school, you work for a business, and that's the difference. And the best teachers, the best skill sets get attracted here to work and work in these businesses and these schools. And I think, but I think there's a lot of transferable skills there. I know personally for me that I've looked at my career in education and working with people, understanding them. And again, one thing that Jack and I were very similar with in education was that we took a lot of time to really understand those who we're working with. a lot of teachers would spend their first few days looking at their class lists, understand things, a lot of admin tasks. I remember Jack and I would always find ourselves, on the phone, speaking to parents, finding out more about children, wanting to know more about people so we can help more. So you kind of caveat what you've shared there. I think that's what I've probably taken away as well, is, having the ability to help people is a privilege. And having the people, setting up a business, financial planning is very, very similar. You're helping people make positive change in their life. And I think having the ability to do that and being in control of how you do it and when you do it, it is really, 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 really grateful.
I have a story on that piece. I was sitting down with somebody who was a candidate here to become an account manager. She was working in the F&B business, and before that she worked for maybe 4 years in the corporate services business. The assumption that, corporate service is quite dry. We do tax, we do accounting, we work with the government, there's a lot of administration, a lot of documents, a lot of fines that we were trying not to get, But when she was speaking to me about her job before she was in this F&B, which she's currently in, she was like, I loved it. I loved being able to set up a business for somebody and impact their life drastically by doing it correctly and helping them make themselves money, complete
success.
Freedom.
Yeah.
And doing it so well that people loved what we did so well that they kept referring business to us. And for her, it was the impact she had. She said, I want to come back to this because I want to have the same impact on clients that I used to have, because I don't have that as a manager of F&B logistics business. It's just, I deliver oranges to restaurants. Now, of course, it's important, but not as much as sorting out somebody for their first setup in the UAE, moving their whole family here, and then them 6 months later going, it's the best decision I ever took.
When I leave a first client meeting and you get a message from a client which says, thank you so much for all your help, feeling really in line now, feeling really in control of my situation, that for me is amazing, and I think 2-3 weeks into, meetings, whatever, clients are onboarded, knowing that you've taken someone from no plan to a long-term plan, sustainable plan, is exactly the same for you guys. An idea, a thought, a dream business, whatever it may be, having the ability to actually say, right, no, we can take this from paper to actual, bricks, water, day-to-day business is brilliant.
And I think, to blow our own trumpet, we do add quite a bit of value across a number of different businesses through our own personal experiences and the network that we've got around us. I can confidently say that there's quite a few sectors that we could speak confidently and give good advice in as well to make sure that they are going to be a successful business. So we have a good understanding across the board, which I think is quite different to other corporate service providers that are out there.
I think it's because we're business owners first and foremost.
Yeah.
And so when we look at somebody setting up with us, it's the same story about, I just want to set up and get a visa here and get the banking sorted, and then I'll start my business. What?
Yeah.
No. No. Do you have a website? It's marketing sorted. You don't need a company.
These are questions that were not presented to me when I set up. We've set up an education business. Again, it's been so proud of my wife, how she's scaled that and grown it, and I've supported her. But these are questions we weren't asked. We actually are in the process of setting a website out now, 12 months later. And we've had decent revenue in our business and it's grown. We're talking about new opportunities, new contracts with schools, and our license essentially needs to be changed for some of those opportunities. So these are the questions that people don't get asked, and you can't ask them unless you've been in the scenario yourself.
These are revenue questions. These are basic business things. But a lot of basic business things, you can only know about them if you've been through them or you've helped others through them. We've helped hundreds of businesses now. I've been in the UAE for 11 years. I was actually in your shoes, and I worked for HSBC as a wealth manager as well. So that holistic approach to people, their well-being and financial well-being personally, and the company well-being right now, which is what I do, is sort of probably ingrained to me a little bit in the advice part of the business. But I've been through a lot. I've started up a lot of businesses. Not all of them have been successful.
We'll talk about the successful ones.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so anybody who is trying to do a business and their first one doesn't pan out, listen, it's okay. Probably the 10th will. Someone get really lucky and this is the second or the third, but generally it's going to be 1 out of 10 that really, really pans out really, really well. And we work with a lot of businesses. A lot of our clients are entrepreneurs, and what they like is that we understand them. We understand the hurdle.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's a cash flow hurdle as well on a specific month. We will go and manage something for them. We'll create a specific plan for them so that, because we understand how business works. 1 month could be shit. 1 month can be great. We're there to help them succeed And if we see that this is not going anywhere, like maybe it's time to close it.
Yeah.
And if it is time to close it, that's okay. Because the point is not to have the guy in business owing us money for the next year that we're never going to collect. We're just like, have you thought about closing it? These are the fees. This is just the cost. Do you want us to do this? Because you're not in a good position. Maybe it's time to give it a break.
There's a piece for us massively. It's at James's place. We can help expats create a plan, establish long-term goals. But one thing, the ongoing service of having a financial advisor really benefits an individual is that you have accountability. So I can ask questions, if Jack's a client of mine, and I can ask him questions, well, Jack, your goal was X, you wanted to retire this income. Does this decision align with that goal? Yes, no. You told me that this is how you felt. You told me this is where you wanted to go. Our plan's doing that. Does it change? And again, it's the same for you guys, in terms of that ongoing service helps you keep businesses accountable to where they want to go. Make sure they hit all the requirements, all their setup requirements, ongoing tax liabilities, and future-proof their business. So again, that is the value of ongoing service, is keeping your clients accountable to their long-term goals.
Yeah, listen, from that perspective, we're the only corporate service provider that has a quarterly call to go through everything that's happening in your company.
Which should be a basic expectation
100%.
for business.
So give me another one that does a quarterly calls with going through banking, tax, immigration, your future business plans, how much money you're making.
Yeah.
Now, accountants do that definitely on quarterly, but from a legal perspective, a tax perspective, an immigration perspective, a company perspective, all of that in one call. All my I sometimes dread them because we have so many clients now. I'm hoping that they don't all press the button at the same time. But yeah, most of them do come. And if they don't, we'll still send them a quarterly report to make sure you know what's happening with your business and what you need to take care of.
And you guys can do that because you know your clients and you understand
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We've talked about future plans, working together in some of the communities that I'm involved in. I've launched a men's mental fitness community this year called Boys Club. It's got a very, very special story behind it. I've mentioned different education workshops, business club events I'm going to get involved in. And I can tell that from a business perspective, you guys really want to be involved in communities. Again, for me, I've kind of built my network through community. And again, you guys, to me, seem like, Jack, you have a very successful community of your own. I've watched your episode on the paddle club was brilliant. So I think, why do you guys value community in business? Why do you value relationships with people like myself and, the third-party communities that I'm involved with? Why is community important to you guys?
I think you need to step away from the desk, to put it simply, and connect with people, whether that's, a walking club, a run club, or for my example, the paddle network. Breaks down the barriers. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO or an entrepreneur starting out, right? You've got a common goal while you're on the paddle court to play paddle, have fun, win the game, get the ball back, be successful, right? Everyone's got a common goal. Whereas when you're behind a desk or you're in an office or you're in that setting, people might be a little bit closed off, a bit more business minded. So for me, it's about connecting with everyone in different positions from a business perspective, connecting with them on a different level in a softer, friendlier, warmer environment where you can sit and have a coffee. But to flip that, you could be doing business while you're having the coffee. So for me, it's probably the best business decision I've made, I think, in the last few years. And especially for me, stepping into a new industry, to have that community behind me and to support me and to be able to tap into whenever I need a solution. For me, that's been the most valuable part. And of course, Peter's a member, so.
Yeah, that's how we met, so clearly it was worked for him. And it's worked for me. And that's why he's here, because I've seen the benefits of the community, and it's also one of the rare ones that I really see top industry leaders, A players, people who don't just speak, because a lot of people that talk here in Dubai, and they have this lavish lifestyle and so on. But I remember when I was at HSBC, I remember seeing a guy in a Bentley, and I remember seeing his accounts. And there was just enough for the lease of the Bentley, which was not his. So it's really fake it till you make it, but taking to the extreme. So I won't tell the nationality, but everybody knows which one that is. And for me, there's a sort of give back as well to the community. We're doing quite well. You guys are educators, and myself, maybe I didn't have that chance to give back to the younger generation. I'd really like to get involved in that. I think it's the right thing I think if young people have a better understanding of how to do business early on, maybe we could get more entrepreneurs to solve more stuff, make life better. Entrepreneurs are typically the guys that will solve something to make it better. They don't do it the other way around. It's not the government or the politicians. So more entrepreneurs who, I don't know, from our perspective, for example, they will know when to set up and when not to set up the business. Will know what the priorities are, what they should be careful about. If they want to do business in the UAE, what is the cheapest way for them to get started? They really need the company because somebody's going to put money in there. I think I'd love to get involved in that. And communities in general, I think, are, when you have a common theme, as Jack said, the barriers are broken down. Doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing. And it's not necessarily just about business, it's about having relationships. And you never know what those relationships could end up to.
People who are moving to Dubai often kind of ask me what's it like, and I always describe Dubai as it's not really a big city, it's more kind of a collection of like little clusters, and I think with that comes a real lack of real organic community. A lot of people say they want to do things, a lot of people want to collaborate, but unless they don't have a bit of ROI or a bit of return from day one or the first event or the first collaboration, they go, okay, right, that's fine, I don't want to do this anymore. For me, it's about through the community, you develop those relationships where it's going to be long-standing, and we're going to maybe open a door for each other. I might open 3 or 4 doors for you. I might open 4 or 5 for you. I might get anything for me now, but it's going to pay you back in the future. And for me, it's been refreshing working with you guys because we've been able to talk about ideas, actually implement things. We've got lots planned. We've touched on the event on the 8th of October. Peter, you've touched on how you want to get involved in my education business and support the children there, which is an amazing project. And Jax, you're going to be one of the guest speakers at the Boys Club event that we're going to be having in November. So again, for me, it's refreshing to work with people who, A, back up what they say in terms of actually actionable points and doing things, and also have warm relationships where I know we've got the best interest at heart. So for me, this is a representation of what good business community looks like, and I think a lot of people should take stuff away from that.
So you talked about network. You've got some events coming up as well that are probably worth talking about and mentioning how they're going to benefit yourself and everyone around you.
Yeah, we've got, I'm really excited, we've got the biggest event for me of this year on the 8th of October, which also doubles up as my birthday. Invested in tomorrow, it's a marquee event for us. It's really about, it's going to be at the Brain and Performance Centre. We're going to be looking at based on the human asset and human health and future planning for your own personal health. And then I'm going to be looking into a piece on financial well-being and financial health. And it's a chance for globally minded expats in Dubai to come for a really, really good evening, take stock of where they are from a holistic health perspective, and then look at their future plans, both personally, health, lifestyle. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure for you guys to partner with the event. And I couldn't pick better people to partner with. Again, we've talked about the synergy, we've talked about how you guys relate, but again, as people, I think it's a really good opportunity for business owners to come and connect with you guys and actually find out about future plans for their business and things to take care of. So yeah, 8th of October is going to be a fantastic event. I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be fantastic to have you guys there as well.
Awesome.
So how can everyone find you? Tell us. They know your name, but what platforms? How can they get in touch?
Well, I've just recently launched my Instagram page. Peter's inspired me with his content. That's why I was asking him eagerly to come here today. So Smart Money Jonny is my Instagram handle. I'm trying to put out a lot of content on LinkedIn. You can reach me directly through there. Smart Money Jonny is my brand I'm trying to create. Again, all about education, giving back to people, help people unlock their potential. I happily reach out. Anyone who wants to reach out, come along for any financial planning. Anyone wants to come along to the Boys Club events, the education piece talked about, and of course 8th of October, I have the pleasure of having an evening with you guys supporting it, which I really, really appreciate. So I would love to welcome anyone on the 8th to come down. Of course, it's my birthday as well. And
Bring gifts.
Big birthday.
Don't worry about the gifts, just bring yourself. Well, maybe gifts.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much for being here. It's a pleasure. It's good to connect with people who have the same ethos, and I don't think there's not too many of them from what I have seen in the UAE, and you're one of the few. So thank you very much for doing the work, doing the hard work, and building things right. Jonny, let's see you in the next episode.
Cheers. Thank you very much.